What is life like really on a farmstead? Is it all fun and games, playing with animals, or is it a lot of hard work, sweat and tears? Is it really worth it? Is it actually enjoyable? Is this really how you want to live? Come along and spend a week with us. I'll show you what we do on a daily basis and also just what the extracurriculars that we do in a week often entail. Our weeks vary week to week. We have different projects we're working on. Depending on the time of year, we have different daily chores that happen. So let's start out with our day. As a dairy farm, we have a pretty strict routine. We do things the same time pretty much every day. In the winter, we fudge things a little bit more. We're not in full production. Most of our goats right now are dried off. We have 8 girls that we milked all the way through. So they didn't get bred on purpose, and we were trying an experiment of milking them through and seeing how their milk production does. So far, all of them are doing really well. I'm really happy with the results so far. Yeah, it'll just be a lot better, I think, for our goats. Some goats can't milk through. Saanens have been specifically bred to milk through. So far, we have one goat, Charlotte. She's half Alpine, half Saanen, and she's a goat that I would be very, very surprised if she would milk through. She just drops off pretty quickly in the fall. And so I just doubt that she would be actually able to milk all the way through. So anyway, because we have a dairy, what does our day look like? Summer, we get up a lot earlier. Usually we're up at 5:30. Winter, we try to rest and not just be so busy. So usually we push milking back a little bit later in the winter. So we tend to milk around 7 instead of like 6. Usually I try to get up and exercise first thing in the morning. If I can't exercise, I don't get a lot of sleep because the baby is awake most of the night, or something else crazy has happened, like we're farrowing piglets or something like that. Sometimes I will just sleep in and get my exercise in later in the day, but it's very important to me to exercise every day. I just feel better, I feel stronger, and exercise is like the number one thing that they have proven helps your mental cognition as you get older, helps you stay, very sharp mentally, and also it's just so good for your body. Anyway, so I exercise pretty much every day. I take one day off a week. So after I'm done exercising, which I exercise usually for about 45 minutes to an hour, I'll usually make breakfast. Why the kids and Silas start morning chores. They'll go out and start feeding animals, and during the winter Silas milks in the morning because he's not going to work. He works in construction, and so it's a very seasonal job up here, so they pretty much have work. They're just starting to pick up now, just a little bit as the weather is getting nicer, and then usually they have work till about October or November, and then he has 4 to 5 months off depending on the year. And so in the winter, he usually milks in the morning. I just make breakfast, and I'll go out and help feed animals once breakfast is made. And once we're done feeding everybody, watering everybody, milking, then I make sure all the kids are ready for school. And this year, for the first time, my mother-in-law, who lives right next to us, has been doing school with the older kids, which has been a huge blessing. We have been really, really busy trying to build our business, and there's just a lot of work to do. And so I really, really appreciate her doing school with the kids. I don't know if that's what's going to happen next year, but at least for this year, the kids are all doing school up there. So they head up to school, and usually, if I'm good, I do the dishes right after they head up, or right when they're finishing getting ready. I wash all the dishes. Sometimes I'm bad. Dishes are not my favorite thing to do, so it does take a lot of discipline for me to actually get them done. But I'm trying really hard to be very disciplined about that, because it's easy to just procrastinate them and they get worse and worse and worse. So I do the dishes. And then usually Silas will either do some kind of, if he's not working outside of the home, usually Si will do some project outside, or he will work on his games, or just do some other project. And then I usually work on business stuff in the mornings when the house is quiet. Then they come home and we eat lunch. And then after lunch is done and we've cleaned up after that, I usually spend that time working on outside projects or just other business stuff that I need to do, whether that's like making products like soap or, cleaning stalls, making pens, whatever it is. I usually try to work on that in the afternoon. Taking walks is also something that I'm trying to be really consistent in doing, especially as I'm pregnant, again, with my 7th child. I feel better if I stay active, and I know that I have better bursts if I continue to stay active. So one of my goals is to also walk every day. So usually I will also in the afternoon take a walk with the kids or a walk by myself if I need some more alone, quiet time to like think and process stuff. Or if the weather is really bad, sometimes I procrastinate and don't take a walk because I don't want to get rained on. But most of the time I take a walk. And then we just like get ready for the evening. We make supper and we play games together. Evenings we try to make a time for relaxing, spending together, playing, not working. In the past, we have worked, Saus and I have worked 14, 15-hour days, and this year our goal is to not work so much. We got really, really burnt out. We started not enjoying our life anymore. Everything was just work related. We were really stressed out. And yeah, we were not prioritizing the stuff that we enjoyed to do anymore. So one of our goals this year is to bring fun back into our life. Something that we have been trying to remember is that life is, a marathon. It's not a sprint. And a lot of the stuff that we've been pushing to get done really quickly, it's going to be here next year. It's going to be here in 5 years from now if we don't get it done. And if we do, there'll be 10 more things to replace it. And that's always how it is. Saus and I both really enjoy working, but we are trying to do it in a sustainable way so we don't get burnt out and actually like the life that we are creating and are enjoying the life that we are creating and enjoying our children instead of just, working for something that we will never enjoy because we're always on to the next thing. So that's kind of like what a day-to-day looks like. And then in a week, I'll go over kind of what we did this week. Obviously, it changes week to week. We have different projects we're doing, different appointments we have to make. This last week, we took 8 of our goats up to our vet, which is an hour away, to get their brucellosis and tuberculosis testing. It takes 2 days out of your week because you have to go, and then with one of the testing, I can't remember off the top of my head which one it is, they have to test 3 days later. And we couldn't take all of our goats because I didn't know that you're not supposed to do the testing when they're pregnant. And we're kidding later in the year than we ever have. Usually we kid beginning of March. We have to have all of our goats who are being milked that year with all their testing results by the end of March to keep our license. We're not kidding until middle to end of April this year. All of our goats who are pregnant, which is most of them, can't get tested until after they have kidded. So we took our 8 goats who are milking through and got them tested so we could keep our dairy license. And then as soon as our other goats kid, we'll have to take them back to the vet. It's okay. I know for next year, and it won't happen again. You learn things every year. Another thing we did or have been working on for multiple days, and it's going to take probably at least a week more, if not even more than that, is we've been working on cleaning out the goat shed. Goats waste an awful lot of hay, which kind of works in a way because we don't ever have to put bedding in there, because once they get the hay on the ground, they step on it, they will not eat it, so we can just spread that out and not have to buy bedding for them, which I guess is a plus. But it usually means we have an awful lot of material to move. So we work on it on and off depending on how much time we have. And all of our manure gets put into a huge pile and it breaks down, and then we spread it onto our pastures. It's been a little bit difficult because it's so muddy. So Saus literally had to make a ramp because there was so much water in one spot to get to our pile. He's been working a lot on getting the goat shed cleaned out. Once it dries a little bit, I'll start working on getting the horse pen and the sheep pen cleaned out. Yay! We also like to take time throughout the week to just watch our animals, especially our goats, as they are getting closer to kidding, make sure that everything is going well, check in, see how everybody's doing. Cassia, as you can see in this video that I'm going to put up, she is absolutely huge. She still has about a month left to go, and if she doesn't have triplets, I will be so surprised because she is ginormous. She usually shows a lot. She just carries kind of like very wide, but even for her, she is huge. She is probably, I don't know, 3 times as big as most of our other goats right now, and they're all due around the same time. So very curious to see how many goats she has in there. Oh, another thing that I did this week, now that I'm starting to feel better, now that my morning sickness is gone, I can actually go outside and do animal chores and like be outside and not feel like I have to throw up or not throw up. Now I can start working with the Mustangs again, which is something that I love. It's very stress relieving. I'm really happy with how far they've come for the amount of work I've been able to put in. And hopefully soon we'll be able to get halters on them. And I think once we get halters on it, I think we'll actually make a lot more progress. We've also been working on making pens for our pigs. For several years we used electric fencing for our pigs, and it just, with our ground and our pigs, it wasn't really working for us. They were constantly covering the wire, then getting out because they shorted it out, and we tried moving them, which is what I really wanted to do, but they wouldn't they wouldn't move. Like, you would move them to the next area and they would just break out and get shocked just so they could be in the place that they were just, the day before. And so we kind of decided that we're just not going to try to deal with that right now. Maybe in the future, I hope that we can figure out a way that we can actually rotate them. It's so much better for them. But for now, we are just making big pens for them to stay in, where they will just have a ton of straw, and then we'll just give them all their food and water in their pens. And it's not ideal, but it is what it is for now. So Sas is working on making bigger pens that are made out of wood. They can't just like short out and escape. And hopefully that will save a little bit of stress this next year. In regards to the pigs, we had 15 piglets this week. One evening, the kids ran in and were like, Dot's in labor, Dot's in labor. And so I go outside to check on her. And usually they start their labor pretty late in the evening or even early morning. But for some reason, Dot started at 6 in the evening, which is kind of nice. I didn't have to stay up super late with her. But by the time I got out there and the kids had told me, she had already had 5 piglets. If you've had farrowing pigs, then you know that they don't really pay attention to their babies when they're giving birth. They tend to just have them and just focus on labor. They don't clean them off. They don't really interact much with them. Sometimes they'll give little grunts to them back and forth, but that's pretty much it. And while she was in labor, she accidentally squished 2 of the piglets. One of them was still alive, but its back legs were broken and it passed. It just passed. It didn't make it, unfortunately. But she did have 15 piglets. So, and then there was one that was stillborn. So she ended up having 12 that are still alive, which is a huge litter for her. Last year she had 7 piglets. And in fact, for the whole entire year, we only had 9 pigs from 2 pigs, and this year we have 21. They're all doing really well, thankfully. We had a fiasco several weeks ago, probably a month ago now, where we had one of our feeder pigs get pregnant somehow. We didn't realize she was pregnant until she went into labor, and she ended up passing away, and all of her piglets passed away. Her first piglet was stuck. It took me over an hour to pull him out. By the time I finally got him out, he was already dead. And through complications, she ended up passing. And when you start off your birthing season with a death of a mom and all of her babies, it's easy to feel like, oh man, our whole year is going to be ruined now. This is just a sign for things to come, even though that's not true, but that's how it feels like when you start off bad. So having our other 2 pigs farrow with pretty much very minimal issues and having so many alive piglets, it just it makes you feel so good. Excited for babies. I really like all the babies running around. It's always a fun time. If you're thinking about homesteading, farming, There are a lot of things that are fun about it. My husband and I, we really, really love what we do. It is stressful sometimes. It is hard sometimes. There's a lot of physically hard work. It's hard when you have animals that are sick. It's hard when you have animals that pass away. The lifestyle is very difficult, but it is also incredibly rewarding as well. And personally, I wouldn't trade it for almost anything. There are other very exciting ways to live, but I like how we live. And maybe we won't do it forever. I don't know. I can't tell the future. But at least for now, it's what we're doing and we love doing it. And we'll do it until we don't want to do it anymore, I guess. Just know if you do get into it, it'll be hard, but it'll be great at the same time. Just take one thing at a time. Don't try to jump in all at once and learn everything at once. Then you'll just get burnt out and go crazy. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below.